Hello and welcome back to Goblin Gaming. Today I showcase my homebrew build in Path of Exile 2 that I've come up with. It's decent, but I think it needs a little bit more tankiness, so if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. We're taking the side that gives us Elemental Storm, so when we critical hit, we spawn a Storm. We're also taking more recovery rate on it, so we spawn them more often. Then we're taking Heart of the Storm, so we recoup some energy whenever we take elemental damage, some energy shield. We're obviously running Chaos Inoculation, which changes our, which makes us immune to chaos damage, and takes away all of our life. And then we're running Eternal Youth, so that when we use a flask, it'll recharge our energy shields. After that, we are taking the 3 elemental nodes in the center here, which give you extra damage whenever you ignite, shock, or freeze. Ignite, shock, or chill. And then we're taking this node here that gives you extra damage whenever you critical hit, which is kind of cool. Alrighty. And then we're taking the meta skills up here so that we recover some mana whenever we trigger our meta skill. And then we're taking the meta skills down here so that we gain more energy quicker, so that we trigger the meta skill quicker. Our meta skill is essentially comment on the elemental invocation line. This allows us to hit quite a bit of damage very quickly. We also have cast on shock right now. I have lightning conduit in there for bosses, but really for like mapping and stuff, you probably would want the comet instead. So it kind of depends on which type of content you're doing. We're grabbing some extra crit chance where we can. We're getting increased chance to freeze, increased chance to shock as well. And then up here, we're making sure we grab the extra freeze buildups on these two. And because we are using the Painter's Focus gloves, we are always doing all 3 types of damage, which means that no matter what type of tornado we spawn, it's going to be freezing enemies, which is really nice. It also means that we are pretty much constantly shocking, igniting, and freezing enemies. So that's really nice. Up here, I haven't decided if I'm going to keep this. Originally, I was running Eye of Winter, but we took the extra level to cold skills and then extra freeze buildup and duration, which is kind of nice. Grabbing Controlling Magic for more critical hit chance. Grabbing Patient Barrier for more energy shield. Shield recharge time is irrelevant because we're just recharging with our flasks. And Ingenuity for more intelligence, which is wonderful. Down here, we're grabbing a little bit of mana regeneration. Probably need to get a little bit more mana regeneration, honestly, or a little bit starved, but it's whatever. Elemental Storm, we're running with magnified effects, so it's bigger. Persistence, so it stays longer. Cold Mastery, so it gets an extra level. Ingenuity, so its cooldown is reduced. Grim Feast, we're running with Clarity to give us some mana regen, and Herbalism, so when we use our flask to restore our energy shields, it does more. Then we're running Arctic Armor with Cold Penetration, Ambush, so if enemies dive on us and hit us when they're at full health, it does more. And then Glaciation, so it does more freeze buildup. Elemental Invocation is using Comet with Capacitor, so that when we do hit this button, it drops like 4 or 5 comets. And then Spell Echo is what allows it to drop 4 or 5 comets. Then Ball Lightning, we're running with Scattershot, so we launch out 3 whenever we do it. Then we have Conduction, so we have more chance to shock, and Deceleration, so it moves slower. Lightning Warp, we're running Mana Flare, although I might change this to a different damage multiplier, because I think this is part of my mana issues right here, but it does do a lot of damage, so I have it in there right now. Whenever you crit, it does a Mana Flare, which basically just does a large amount of damage based on your current mana. It would do better if I had more mana all the time. It would do better if I had more max mana, so I might switch this out. And then Strip Away, so that whenever we hit our Lightning Warp, it's stripping away resistances from enemies on cold with cold exposure. So basically, whenever we Lightning Warp onto them, we are taking away their cold resistance and freezing them. So a Lightning Warp will not only freeze, but will also remove their cold resistance and freeze them. And then if we do happen to throw out a Firewall first, then when we Ball Lightning, we're freezing, igniting, and shocking, which is pretty cool. So that's the general gist of the build. After that, we have Cast on Shock, which is just going to drop a meteor. Our Cold Snap is amped up with Elemental Focus. It doesn't need to inflict elements because it consumes the element, right? So it does 25% multiplicatively more damage. Inevitable Critical will get that crit chance up even more. Right now I'm about 50% crit chance, so it's pretty good. On my non-inevitable crit abilities, it's a lot lower. It's at 30%, so still not terrible. Anyway, so we got inevitable critical. Then we took shock siphon, so when we finish enemies off with that cold snap, it gives us back some energy shield. And then we have extraction for more chaos damage. It doesn't actually sacrifice any life because we only have 1 life and it can never kill you. So you don't have to worry about the downside of that. The other thing I was running before was the super critical, which I think is a fine option as well if this ever stops working. And then Frostwall, we're running with Phantom Mana, so if we do really desperately need mana, we can throw Frostwall behind us, and then that'll help us regain mana. Running with Considered Casting, so it does more damage when they break it. And then Icicle, so it's easier to break for enemies. You could also run the Fortress one instead if you just wanted to use this as a mana well, which is kind of nice. But these can be really nice on actual bosses, not like the elites, because elites we can just delete with our elemental invocation. So, but yeah, so that's the Frostwall. And then Flame Wall, we're running with Spell Cascade, so when we do cast it, it casts 3 of them in a random pattern. And then Fire Mastery gives us an extra level on that, and Arcane Tempo just so we can throw it out quicker, so that we can go straight into our rotation a little bit quicker. The other thing you could do with Lightning Warp is you could put Unleash on it, so when you hit it, it'll do it twice, and you'll have to like spam click it, but it's really not that big of a deal. Alright, let's go ahead and get on into a map. I just unlocked tier 7, so this is pretty difficult for me. Don't be surprised if I die. Alright. And I also just completely redid my spec. I was running Eye of Winter before, and I had a whole moment this morning. Just switched over to this, and it's working pretty well, as you can see. Now that said, I mean, I'm far from endgame. I'm sure that there are flaws in this, and if you guys see them, please let me know so I can help, so I can try to fix them. But it's pretty fun either way. See, notice how that froze him, even though it was a fire one. Cold Snap and get some health back here. Oh, there's an elite. Let's just drop some meteors. I missed him with half of them. In that case, we'll drop some ice walls. And just do this.
Need mana.
Usually the meteors just completely delete elites. If I would have gotten full mana and like froze them and placed them and dropped them, they'd just been out, you know? Let's drop some meteors here. You can pretty much drop meteors whenever you want as long as you have the mana for it. Just because it charges up so quickly with this build. Which is pretty cool.
Out of mana.
I mean, you could do that if you just had it on self-cast as well, but then you have to deal with the animation time, which I hate. I did actually try to make a common build work out, but it was the animation time was just making it feel clunky as heck. And you can't speed it up either, which is a bummer. Not even with Arcane Surge or Arcane Temple or any of those things. So. And you can of course use invocations when you're at 50%. So if I wanted to, I could drop it now. But if you save it for when you're higher up, you will actually get more meteors. So, just in case you didn't know that, that is a thing. But yeah, it's a pretty fun build. I don't drop Firewall half the time unless there's an elite. I should probably, because it would be clear quicker. I just forget part of the combo sometimes. I gotta get used to all of it still, because I did switch things up quite a bit. Before it was just Firewall and then Orb of Winter, and that was working pretty well until I hit about tier 6. And then the damage started falling off a little bit. I also did fool around with using Arcane Mage, which was fine, or Archmage rather, which was fine. But the downside to it is I was always unable to cast anything constantly. So if I had better like mana stacking gear, that would probably work out. And then I could switch to the talent tree, maybe drop the Tempest and do Arcane Surge instead. But then I don't know. I really like the Tempest. I think they're pretty cool. It's a unique thing. You don't see a whole lot of it. They do help defend you, and they do quite a bit of damage. So You know, I kind of like the flavor of it, but it might not be optimal. I'm not sure. I know you could just go pure lightning, pure
Out of mana.
archmage, you know, and then do like this telestomp build. But I wanted to do like an elementalist type thing because there's really not much of that out there right now. It's all like all lightning all the time, and you know, I really like cold stuff, and I want to kind of mess with that. And I really like cold snap. I really like Orb of Winter, but I just couldn't figure out how to scale it up high enough. So if you guys have suggestions on that, if you let me know, I'd love to hear it. Then drop the meteors,
Die. Forgotten.
feet. I just had to get mana back.
Lightning
I guess I could
take
pop
you.
the potion. I was talking, not thinking very much, but yeah. So this is the general idea of the build. Hopefully you guys like it. If you get into crap moments like that, you just drop the meteors and roll away. The other thing you could do, theoretically, is instead of doing the cast on shot, you could run Blink, maybe? It does require a lot of mana to do that, or a lot of spirit. You can see I have excess spirit right now. So, actually, I wonder if I have a slot open. Maybe I could run... No, Blink's 100, isn't it? Yeah, I think Blink's 100. But I could run another, like, cast on shock, cast on crit kind of thing, since I have that extra energy, but I don't really have the mana to sustain it, so I'm just not doing that right now. What I should probably do is change my gear around a little bit and like drop the spirit off of my necklace and get a better defensive necklace. Would probably be the best way to go, but I don't know. If you guys have other ideas for how I could improve the survivability, I would love to hear it, because it's really fun and it's really engaging and very active. But the survivability is definitely not where I think it needs to be to go up into like T10 and stuff, or T15 or whatever. I think that we're gonna hit a real hard wall real soon. In fact, I just stood there and let that guy chuck spears at me and died, so you can kind of see how quickly it can go bad. Maybe if I had some more armor or something? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think of the build. Let me know what ideas you have. I would love to hear them, and we'll see you guys next time.